Alright, what's going on guys, it's Bricks. Today we're going to be using Serum 2 and Malstrom together to find some really unique rhythm sounds. Stick around to the end of the video because I'm also going to be dropping a free preset for you guys, but let's go ahead and hop into it. Alright, so the first thing I want to do is I want to use Malstrom's Square 4 inside of Serum 2. And so how I'm going to do that is I'm going to pull up a Reason rack right now. And then we'll just grab a Malstrom and let me just reset the device, and then I'm just gonna pull the octave down too, and we'll put it on Square 4, and that's fine right there. So let's just grab a note, drag it out. That's a good amount of movement, and then we'll just consolidate this. And now we can pull this into Serum and start to mess with it in there. So let's go ahead and open up a Serum 2 now. And we're just gonna change wavetable to sample. And we'll just drag the consolidated sample we have right into here. And now let me just turn the level up and bring the octave up one. And now we have the square from Reason inside a Serum 2. It's a little quieter, but we'll fix that with distortion. Now we have this as our starting sound inside of Serum 2, which is really interesting. Let's go ahead and beef this up a little bit. I'm gonna open up a distortion. There we go. And then let's make an LFO on the level here. Just give it a nice little shape. And then we'll put this on envelope. Just have it be one shot. And now we can kind of dial in our sound. All right, so I messed around with the sound a little bit, and I'll just go through everything that I did. I started out by putting asymmetrical distortion on here and just turning up the warp a little bit. And it kind of just gives it volume, to be honest. In our effects, I changed from tube distortion to downsample, so without it, and then with it. It adds some like bit crushiness to it. Let's see, we added compression for loudness. And then we just EQ'd a little bit of things because it was lacking some presence in the highs and the mids, and I just wanted to roll off the low, so that's what these equalizers are doing. And then there was like an annoying frequency here that I just ducked. What's really cool about Serum 2's effects is we have this splitter now, and so we can split our effects chain from low to high. And on my highs, I have a convolve and a bode, and these can be really cool because you can get some really interesting tonality with these. So let's turn the convolve on and I'll show you what I did with this. I added some like metallic tonality to it, and the way that I did that is I went into the weird section and I grabbed this stylo unbent one, and initially the decay is like way higher like this, and that's no good. So I just wanted to get the tonality of it but not have that long feedback. So I turned the decay down and tightened it up a little bit, and I believe I turned the gain up a little bit on it. You can mess with the size and get some like little differences in tonality, and then tone as well. I think the tone is the amount of the size that you get. So kind of just dial that in and find like a cool tonality to it, and it just kind of adds like another little texture layer to it. And for the bode filter, we have our direction sent all the way to the right and our blur all the way up, which without the blur and then with the blur, it just kind of smooths it out. Our range, if you turn the range way up, it allows the shift to shift more basically. And then the lower the range, the more precise the shift is. I have the range set kind of low. You can use the shift to find some cool tonalities. I have the mix set at 50% because if you have it all the way up, it just shifts like everything and it doesn't really keep the main original tonality. So I kind of like 50% because you're getting that tonality from the bode, but you're still maintaining that original signal from the convolver. And it kind of gives it that like gritty tonality, and I really like that. Moving on, we have the filter, and this I just have on a MG Low 6. It's just automating the cutoff with the LFO, and this just kind of shapes the sound and keeps everything tight. And you could even start it a little bit higher frequency. but it just kind of gives it more shape, because also if I do post-processing later in the mixer, I can add reverb and it won't like stack too much, and so I kind of like this more dry signal that it creates. Alright, for the new pack, I had a really cool idea where I'm going to combine Serum 2 and Malstrom together. So with every single Malstrom preset, there's going to be a corresponding Serum 2 effects rack. So when you pull up the Malstrom preset, you'll also just pull up a Serum 2 effects and then select the matching preset in here. And then you'll get these really cool OG rhythm sounds. You can mix and match a bunch of them and get a bunch of different tonalities and variations and stuff like that. And then for Serum 2, I'm using Malstrom wavetables inside of the presets so that we have the signal from Malstrom, but we have all of the control of all the new stuff in Serum 2, which is really, really cool for creating different variations. It just gives you so much more control over these OG rhythm style sounds with all the new stuff in Serum 2, and it's just really, really fun. I made this with it, and this is just straight out of the box, no effects. So yeah, I mean, there's so many possibilities, and this is like no effects. You could also like mix and match them and play around and just experiment and have fun. But if you want to grab it, the link will be in my bio, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. I certainly am. Go make some cool shit. Peace. Okay, now we can get into like the really fun part of it, which is creating variations. So what's really cool about this sample feature is you can drag the starting point and move the starting point of the sample. So right now it sounds like this, but if we move it, we're finding different parts of the original square 4, because if you listen, it kind of sweeps through the square 4 wavetable. So because of that, when we throw it in here, there's different portions of it that sound a lot different, which can be really cool for variation. I like that. And this is really cool for adding variation, because you could clone this and have this playing and then cut to and just have a slight tonality change on the switch, which can be really, really good. There's a ton of potential for automating things as well. So this scan knob right here is basically how fast the speed of the playback is through the sample. So if I turn this down, it goes really, really slow. But what's really cool is if I just, for pitch bends and stuff like that, it's really, really good to automate. Another thing within the effects that we can automate is you could even use the LFO to automate it actually and have it follow the synth. And create like a little bit more movement, or we can have it start here and then on the switch have a slight tonality change. And I think with Riddim, when you add like slight tonality changes or just slight movement things, it creates a lot of flow. And when you have songs that are mostly quarter note with basic drums and very minimal in the amount of sounds, very slight tonality changes I think become really, really important. So the fact that you can create so many different variations so easily is like really, really good for making Riddim. The convolve as well. We can get some different sounds with the size here, as well as changing the actual preset we have in here. This one's cool. The mix is a bit loud in it though. I just turned British for a second. The mix is a bit loud in it. Now I want to do something really interesting and switch this from sample to spectral. And this is really, really interesting. And now this has a completely different tonality because it's spectral, so we can also move this the same way we can with the sample. And find a lot of cool different tonalities as well. The scan on this one works a little differently. It kind of like the function is the same, but the sound of it sounds a bit different. When I slow it down, it doesn't sound as bad, I guess. Because it's sweeping through a spectrum instead of a waveform, so you don't have as many of those peaks and valleys that just sound like a fart, basically. So you can kind of use the scan knob on this to get some cool stuff as well. And I really like that. I think that sounds really good. Let's go ahead and dial in the convolve a little bit though. I don't necessarily care for the tonality on this one as much. I think that sounds good. And so now we can take this and we can throw it into a mixer channel. So my mixer channel is my synth bus. I have it turned down, and then I have an OTT with the downwind and upwind all the way down. And this just gives it some saturation and loudness. That's why I have to turn it down, because it kind of gives it a lot of loudness. And we still want to process the sound, so I don't want it to be too loud. So I have that running into a synth bus, and how that's done is you just kind of unhook it from the master and hook it into whatever bus you want to run it into. So all my synth channels are running into this together, and every single sound that's on these is affected together by this. This Ozone 11 equalizer is doing nothing. It's just not, there's nothing, no setting on it right now, but this is just rolling off low end at 130. You could go to like 210, but sometimes I kind of like this little fundamental down here. So I have that there. And then this is for later in a song if you wanted to automate this, you know, at like the end of a phrase. So that's just there for utility. But yeah, that's what the processing is on it right now. There is another, so my synth bus is grouped with my sub bus into a sub and synth bus, because I like to distort my sub and my synth together sometimes. So there's another EQ on here that just cuts the fundamental of like where your snare would hit, and another part of where maybe a clap would hit, to just kind of give room in the mix down. There's no other processing on it. This delay is feedback all the way down, mix all the way up, and this is just for creating those like weird wobbles, like. So you can automate the milliseconds here and get some like interesting weird delay rolls. It's kind of an interesting technique, but that's what that's for. So that is the post-processing on it so far, but we can actually post-process the sound now. So we've post-processed it a little bit within inside of Serum 2, but now we can kind of mess with it some more. And I think a good place to start would be a disperser. And it just kind of gives it that like punch in this like low mid area. It kind of beefs it up a little bit. I really like the comb filter from Kilohertz. We could also bring it down a little bit, or you can go a lot. I think I like it there. I might mute this for a second though, because we could use the Reason plugins now like we would out of this signal, but use them on the Serum 2 signal. So let's use a phaser, and I want to do sync and do 2/4 so that it kind of bounces back and forth. We can bring the feedback down a little bit, and then we'll start with the frequency mod low, and then I just want to find a nice tonality with this frequency and the split. I like that. And then we can take the frequency modulation and just kind of give it like a lot of movement. Another option too would be to use a chorus flanger. I think the chorus flanger is really good. 2/4 again as well, just to have more movement. I tend to like the delay around like 70 to 90. I think sounds the best to me. If you wanted to get that like chongo kind of sound, just bring the feedback way down. So with the mod amount here, if you bring it way up, it kind of engages this rate a lot more and it adds way more movement. But if you bring it way down to like 8, 7, somewhere around there, it makes the movement just subtle, but it's still there. So it kind of has that movement, but it's not like so in your face. And the delay over here with the feedback is giving it that like metallic tonality. And we can throw the comb filter on before it and see how this sounds. And that sounds pretty cool too. I like that. The cool thing about all these is, like I was saying before in the effects tab of the Serum, how you can automate things and change it to get little different tonalities. The same is true for all these effects as well, especially so with the Reason effects. Like the slightest change on the delay will give such a big difference in sound. And that can be really, really cool for creating switches, so you don't have such a stagnant sound the whole way through and you can still use the same bass that you created. But yeah, I think that is a really, really cool sound that we just created using Serum that sounds like it came from Malstrom, because we're using the Malstrom wavetable and we're running it into Serum and using Serum 2's really cool new features and the new effects like the bowed and the convolve. And then we're running that back into Reason, polishing it up with some Reason effects, which make it still kind of keep that Reason tonality, but it has the ability to be used in Serum 2 to have all these different parameters for creating variations. And yeah, I think that's really, really cool. So I'm going to give you guys this preset for free. I'm going to drop it in the Discord. I'm also going to put this sound in there. You guys are going to need it to drag into the spectral or the sample, whichever one you decide to use. But yeah, just follow the link down in the description, go to the Discord and find the free presets tab and look for the thumbnail from this video. And that's where you'll find the download for this. Another cool thing that you can do with all these techniques is you can drag different samples in here and kind of do the same thing. You can pull the Sawtooth 4, do the same thing and get some different results out of it. Sweeping square, just kind of play around and have fun, you know. There's endless possibilities with combining these two, and I think that's really, really cool. But yeah, join the Discord, grab the preset. I hope you guys have some fun with it. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.